Thank you. Further debate? The member from Essex.
Thank you, Speaker. It is, as always, an enormous privilege to rise today in the House, and particularly on this issue. I am pleased that our leader, Andrea Horwath, has dedicated our Opposition Day motion to, once again, I believe for the third time this year, attempt to attempt to educate, inform the government about how, in fact, wrong-headed the decision to cancel the slots at Racetrack Program was and how detrimental it has been to rural Ontario. Before I get into my remarks, Speaker, I'd like to recognize two gentlemen that are here that have been here for every debate around this issue and many more.
Well, we listened intently at the last speaker, and we have 5 sidebars, as usual, coming from the same area. If you want to talk about it, go outside. Continue.
Thank you, Speaker. As I was saying, I want to introduce and welcome 2 guests that are here, Brian Tropey and Ken Hardy from the Ontario Harness Horse Association. They've provided steadfast leadership and a voice. They've traveled across rural Ontario, meeting with their members, meeting with concerned citizens, with political leaders from all levels. Man, you guys have put some miles on your vehicles, and I know it's been a strain emotionally, financially. I can't imagine the battle, but here we are again. Speaker, when I first had the privilege of addressing the issue and learning about the issue, in all honesty, I was really not familiar with horse racing in the province of Ontario. Although we had a historic racetrack in Windsor, in fact, Speaker, I'm actually allergic to horses. As soon as Brian can attest to that. As soon as I get around them, I break out. I can't breathe, and I'm allergic to cats too as well. But nevertheless, I have learned about how wonderful and special and important this industry is. I've learned about the connection between the families, and they're families. It's an entire family in Ontario that operates and runs and promotes this wonderful industry. I've learned about its economic impact to regions, certainly my own in Windsor and Essex County, and I've learned about how devastating ultimately this decision was. And for those who are tuning in at home today, I simply want you to know that I don't believe the government intended this as a malicious or a decision. This was simply a financial decision. This is based on some really hard, fast metrics of privatization. So we've talked about it, the cancellation of SLARP. We've talked about the mechanics of SLARP. We've talked about accountability and transparency, of privatization versus public ownership, of revenue streams. What has happened here is that historic industry that we know was profitable, that we know benefited communities, brought in $1.2 billion in revenue a year, generated thousands of jobs and tens of thousands of other spin-off jobs, that was identified as competition by private casinos. And when the doors were flung open to privatization in this province by Dwight Duncan, by Dalton McGuinty, and by Paul Godfrey, who was at the time the head of the OLG, they used the slots at Racetrack Program and the value that horse racing represents as a measure of enticement for big private casinos to come in. We saw their plans. 29 casinos spread across Ontario in neighborhoods that didn't want them, that don't need them, that see them as actually a detriment to their community and to their regional economic development. But lo and behold, they forged on to try to entice. One of their biggest promoters was indeed the current mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford, who wanted to see a mega casino downtown Toronto. Big private casino. We saw that as one of the most detrimental and, of course, actually the rationale behind them cancelling SARP.